Now, if I brought that argument forward and say, well, you have a point there. Yours is, physical, medical. Mine, I feel the same way. It's relative. I feel the same way you feel about yours, but only in a different way. You feel pain, right? I feel pain as well. So where do we draw the line about people taking their lives rather than, so that's where I would say I would still stick to
Mm.
respect, the respect for life. I would still stick with that and say, well, this is my opinion. I respect life, and I don't think life should be taken, even though it's a loved one. Uh, you know, I would go with principle. My principle. I
Yeah,
would
and I
say,
mean, yeah, I think what it also shows for everybody really is that, God forbid, but until people get into that situation, nobody really knows. If you're not walking a mile in somebody else's shoes, you don't
mm,
really know what they go through. So
no,
it's obviously very easy to sort of say, well, this is what I would do, or etc. etc. But maybe it wouldn't be in the event. I mean, you mentioned suicide. If somebody themselves wanted to take their own life, and of course that happens at quite alarming rates
mm,
in this country and in every country. It's a majority of men who do it, and I believe the number is between 14 and 18 people die a day through suicide on average, and I think 14 of the 18 people are men. So it's an interesting, slant on that. Suicide actually used to be, I think it was some years ago, but it used to be illegal, which sounds a bit strange because if somebody kills themselves, you may say, well, it's illegal, so what? You can't punish them. But I think where it was illegal is that it would if somebody committed suicide, it would nullify any insurance policies because they would have a suicide clause. If somebody on this life insurance commits suicide, then they won't pay out the money. So that's why it was illegal. I don't believe it's illegal now, and it would be rather, as I said, a bit stupid, really, just for a government to say you're not allowed legally to kill yourself. So, I mean, people do clearly get to the end or the edge of what they can tolerate. So you can sort of understand why that happens. But as I say, if it's a partner, a long time partner, not even a long time partner, but someone you love and they're suffering and there's no cure for that, no way around it, and there are sadly, such illnesses, then maybe we would, because I am with you in what you said, but maybe we would see it a bit differently if we had to actually face that situation ourselves. Okay, well, to try and raise the bar a bit, do you think fairy tales are good for children?
I think fairy tales are good for children. Yeah, of
You
course.
do.
Yeah, because there's a learning process to in every stage in life has to be lived and has to be acknowledged and also has to be celebrated in a way. Um, Now, the example that I was going to give is is you can't tell a kid a real life story. They switch off just like that. You can't say to a kid, a 5-year old, for instance, you've got to be responsible with money. Because if you save your money, you can get a mortgage. It's not used to them. It's not used to them. So there's a stage in life where children has to live that fantasy. They love it. It keeps you happy. It gives it keeps you happy. It doesn't give you any headache. And you know that by the time they grow out of it, they really do grow out of it as well.
Mm.
They grow physically out of it and emotionally they grow out of it as well. Can you imagine telling a 12-year-old, um, Oh, well, so maybe not a 12-year-old. But can you imagine telling a 16-year-old that, you know, where children came from, the way you would tell a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old? They just laugh at you
Mm,
because they've passed that stage. But it doesn't change the fact that you told them something different when they were younger. They still, it's not a lie. Um, well, it is technically a
it
lie.
is, yeah.
It is technically a lie, but that's the way that children should be brought up. They should be brought up with, these stories. Even with the Bible stories as well. You can't just tell children, you can't just tell children the story in the Bible as it is told. You have to withdraw some details and kind of spice it up. And even the morals that could be drawn from that story has to be told in a way that is appealing to their young
Mm.
mind because the brain is developing. So yeah, fairy tales, yeah, I welcome that.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Bible, but what about the nativity story? Now, as I remember, and probably you do at school, when
Yeah,
we're very young, when we first start at primary school, the
yeah,
nativity story is told to us in a factual way as to what the Bible tells us happened. So we're not having to invent. You say we have to sort of change the circumstances of some Bible stories, and I guess that's true. But we do tell children the truth when they're 4 or 5 in terms of a nativity. And yet we have when you think the concept of stranger danger for kids, I
yeah.
mean, kids nowadays are no doubt told, as they always have been, that don't talk to strangers. If someone comes up to you, don't talk to them unless they were in need of something, the child. Stranger danger, and yet we talk about Father Christmas, Santa Claus. Now that's obviously light-hearted, but something I remember when my Kimberly was very young, she was terrified if we took her to the department store and there was a Father Christmas. She didn't want to see him. She would just cover her eyes and just not want to go anywhere near because I guess this big character with his long beard and his red coat, it just frightened her.